we are introducing tonight a new show called Psychology Live. My name is Kikli Kwai. I'm an organizational and social psychologist. And before we get into the introduction of my two guests, I would like to invite you to go on to facebook.com/OurTV4 and gisltd.tt/TV-4, where we are streaming live. You can also respond via Twitter using our TV4 hashtag Psychology Live, and our phone numbers for you to call in are 675-8747 and 675-8749. So we are streaming live at facebook.com/OurTV4. It is my pleasure to introduce two ladies that I've known for quite a long time, who are psychologists with a long resume in Trinidad and Tobago. We are privileged to have the first president of the Trinidad and Tobago Association of Psychologists, who is Mrs. Laila Valère. And we also have the current president of the Trinidad and Tobago Association of Psychologists, Ms. Anna Maria Mora. And so welcome, ladies, to TV4.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And the first show of what we hope will be a very engaging and interactive show about psychology and human behavior in Trinidad and Tobago. And so, to start off, we would like to basically remove some of the myths about psychology, deal with some of the stigmas and stereotypes, etc. That is the whole purpose of the show. And so, both Laila and Anna Maria, who have a long history, as I said, in psychology in Trinidad and Tobago, are going to give us some of the terrain and background of psychology in Trinidad and Tobago, of course. So if I could ask Laila, who is, they're both counseling psychologists. Mrs. Valère has been engaged in psychology for quite a long time, all right? Let me ask you to present yourself to the audience of Trinidad and Tobago, better than I can.
Well, I came into psychology in the early 1980s.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons I went into psychology is because I was teaching at the time and found myself doing a lot of amateur counseling and psychology with young men. And I thought, I should really improve my skills.
Mm-hmm.
And I went back to university and became a counseling psychologist. That's why I did counseling.
Right.
Because I wanted to work with the healthy population that just had behavioral problems, emotional problems, and so. So I went in there, and when I came back to Trinidad, that is in the early 1980s, I have been upgrading my skills because psychology has grown, and we have to have many tools in our toolbox, like I always say. So I did neuro-linguistic programming, hypnotherapy, I tried to do EFT, and then I engage in all the other things. And there are so many new things coming up now.
Explain for our audience what EFT means.
Oh, we know it now as tapping. Emotional freedom.
Yes,
but it's tapping. It's very popular, but it's very effective.
Right.
Where you combine East and West techniques,
Right.
But psychology has grown since then in Trinidad and Tobago, and our association has also grown.
Right.
We started very young. We were only incorporated in the year 2000 by Act of Parliament, and now we have, we have almost 200 registered members, but we probably have a lot of other psychologists in Trinidad who are practicing and may not be members of the association.
Right.
Well, I must say that the association, I could tell you a bit about it. We are looking to get licensure now, so we have a little bit more teeth so that we can ensure the quality of psychology that's practiced today in Trinidad would be something that we can all be proud of.
Right.
And ethically correct.
For an audience who may not know Laila, she has also been an ambassador
Oh, yes.
to Barbados and Canada.
Yes.
And it is as the first president of the Trinidad and Tobago Association of Psychologists. She engineered the passage of Act 2000
Yes.
that made the Trinidad and Tobago Association of Psychologists a legal body by Act of Parliament, as you just said.
Yes, yes.
What time of the hour was this?
Oh, it was 2 o'clock in the morning.
2 o'clock in the
I will
morning
always remember
in Parliament.
it.
Yes.
Yes, because at the time I was a temporary independent senator.
Right.
So I used my position in there to lobby and influence the others to pass it.
Right.
And I thought it was very needed in the country. So
Right.
I felt very good about that.
Right. So Lila was the first president of TTAP, and then she is also the former president.
Oh, yes.
Because she was the president of from 2013
The
to
2014. And Anna Maria took over from me.
Right. And then
Yes.
Anna Maria took over for the second
Yes,
time
yes,
as
yes.
TTAP president.
Yes, also.
Right. So Anna Maria, your first stint as president was when? And tell
In
us about
2005, 2004, 2005.
Yeah.
I think we were just about 5 years old.
Yes,
So
that's right.
it was a time when I think my focus was getting TTAP known, so we did a lot of outreach.
Right.
And I got into psychology because, well, for me it was a progression. I began as a trained teacher out of Mausica Teachers College, worked with children at a primary school for about 6-7 years, met a lot of young people there who, at primary school, who had serious issues with parenting issues, violence committed against them, acts of violence. I remember a 5-year-old coming into school on a Monday morning in my class with her hands clenched, and I had to do this. And there in the middle here was a very hole that was getting very septic. So I just looked at it and said, what is going on here? I had to rush her to hospital to clean it and get it cleaned and what have you. I called the mother and she said to me that she sent her to the shop to purchase something in the parlor, and she came back with 25 cents short. And the mother took, and she told me this very calmly, took a 25 cents, put it between a fork, heated it on the stove, and pressed it into the child's hand. This was my first, it was the first time that I recognized that people ill-treated children. Okay, and at that time, which was in the 70s, I'm dating myself, but that's okay. There was nothing that we could have done because the police, there was nothing. All I could have done was try to get this child's hand healed and try to work with the mother, talk to the mother about but the mother herself was steeped in a lot of anger over her own situation, and that was when I began to think that, I spent 6 years there, and there were other children. One I even had to take home with me for a little while to get her first communion clothes because there was nothing, and she spent the night before first communion. I was able to get everything, and we took her. And then I moved to Barataria Senior Camp. I did my degree, my first degree, and there I met teenagers who were in some serious issues and problems. Then I became a guidance officer because it was a time when they were choosing local teachers because they brought in foreigners, Trinidadians who lived abroad, and it was very difficult for them to kind of settle in because at that time it's phones, it's lights, it's water. They've come from Canada, not accustomed to all of this. So many of them went back. Yeah. And they took quite a number of us who had been through the system, and we would have known the system, to become guidance officers. That was in 79. And again, the constant theme of inhumane treatment to children constantly before my face. And I said there had to be something more to this. And that's when I applied and got into Columbia University and did. And one of the things that the lecturer, when he started, the professor, he said to us that as a counseling psychologist, you work with normal people who have a temporary break in transmission. Okay. This is how he put it to us, yes. And that was like, oh my goodness. That's right. He said, because generally life is, we go along life fairly normal. People have issues with change. Parents with children growing up can't handle it. Just basic life and change is a problem, and that's normal. Right. You know, children not getting through expectations parents have of them. All these things are normal. So at that level, you work with normal people. Right. And that is one of the things about psychology that I would like people to understand, that normalcy, yes, we go along, but there are times when things happen.
Break in transmission.
Break in transmission, but it's normal. Your child growing up, you can't handle it. It's no longer baby. You have 12 and 13, 14-year-olds says, Mommy still wants to hold my hand and treat me as if I am 2. 18-year-olds want to, Mommy wants to treat me or Daddy as if I'm 8. You know, those things are normal. So that's what I work with.
One of the questions that I'm going to ask you probably for a later segment, now that you have basically introduced your introduction to psychology, is, you know, whether those days then, in terms of the abuse and the environment when you started, how does it compare to now? But you know, but
it's a lot more stressful.
No,
easy.
Yeah,
Yes.
obviously,
Easy answer.
yeah. Obviously, we have a lot more stress now, a lot more demands. Parents working, both parents, you know, there's traffic on the road. And I think these are some of the things that we want to treat with on the show over the course of the next few weeks and months. In terms of the psychosocial environment in Trinidad and Tobago and how stressful it is and how people are coping. Because you can't tell me that you're sitting down in traffic for 2 hours one way or 4 hours a day, and it doesn't impact on your psyche, your mental well-being, and so on a daily basis. And so what is your state of mind when you get to work or to teach people's children, etc., etc.?
That's the adults, but even children go through the stress.
Not only the
adults, the children have the stress. The educational system is still competitive.
Right.
And a lot of performance anxiety, a lot of examination anxiety.
Right.
Actually, I'm going out to the schools and speaking to those children who are taking common entrance, the seats, so that they can learn the skills. They have the skills to do it, and they may need to get extra help.
Yes.
You know, because it definitely affects the children.
I don't think parents, because sometimes on mornings I come out early and I see a mother in a car, say dad is driving, there's traffic, and she's there pulling at the girl's hair, trying to comb it, you know, while they're in traffic, and this child is like in a mess, you know, and the mother is trying, oh, we have to get to school, and you could see, I'm in my car and I'm looking at what's happening, and you could see there's this anxiety. And stress, and it's not only the mother, the child is in a mess too, and
children in cars, and there's always road rage. I mean, there's a sense of lawlessness in the road. The children are affected, not only the parents. You know, so we're living in very difficult times.
Yes, it is very
Everybody
stressful.
is traumatized.
That is another issue in terms of what does trauma look like in Trinidad and Tobago, and how does it manifest itself. And you know, some of the coping skills that we use or don't use that are healthy or unhealthy, right? We just had Carnival, so that was a whole outlet or valve, as they say, to ease the pressure. But okay, so you have indicated why you got into psychology. What is your general response in terms of the attitude of John and Janet Public to psychologists and psychology in Trinidad and Tobago?
Well, I think that most people don't understand even what psychology is all about.
Right.
What is it all about? It is about looking after the needs, your mental, emotional needs, and even your physical needs, because that manifests itself emotionally and mentally. And that is just as important as your nutritional needs and your physical needs.
Yes.
Your emotional needs. So that is what psychology is about. And many people don't realize that. They think that psychology, you have to be mad to go to a psychologist. And but normal people have problems. Like I say, a break in transmission. I find that is a perfect, yes, a good description.
Goodness,
right.
So we're the mechanics.
Yes. You need a little oil. And people need a lot of change of behavior. You know, and they fall into bad behavior. It might be emotional dysfunctions, and there are a lot of divorces, and children need it, adults need it.
Yeah.
Everybody needs it. And what I think, though, is that we are thinking that's only the victims of violent crime that need help, but it's also the witnesses.
Yeah.
People who witness violent crime.
And have been traumatized.
They are traumatized. And I wonder about, I mean, we need it for everybody in Trinidad. I think we need a psychologist at the side of every politician. That's what we need.
That's for another time.
No, because then they will understand the psychological needs of the country.
Yes.
We need it in every sphere.
Yeah.
One of the
The same way as we need doctors and medical doctors and dentists, we need psychologists.
And so hopefully through this medium we can help to deconstruct and remove a lot of the, as I said earlier, the stereotypes and stigma and the fear and the phobia that people have about psychology.
I just wanted to give an example. We had this young woman with her daughter. The daughter was 14 and mother. They were like very close. Two of them alone, living in a house, happily going along. And the daughter slept with the mother. They were friends and going. Mother gets boyfriend. Okay? Boyfriend moves into house, and now girl has to go into her own room. Now all this is normal.
Right.
And this happens very often.
You know, and well, they don't think that this is something, oh, she will handle that. So she has gone into her room. And one morning, mother gets up to go to the bathroom, and child's door is open, and child not in room, but they're not in her bed. They had to search for her all over, somewhere in the West. The child was found walking the streets because she said her imaginary friend told her, let's come go for a walk, because she developed this, because she lost her mother as her, and she developed this imaginary friend.
Substitute.
Thank you. Now, if mother had come at the time when she developed this relationship with boyfriend, as a counseling psychologist, I would have been able to work with the young lady, the child, and the mother, and maybe to just get her to understand her mother's needs, her needs, get mother to understand. And we could work that because it's a normal thing. But now she has imaginary friend. That takes it to another level.
Right.
And still nothing was done at that point. And then there was a day when she slit her wrist because imaginary friend tell her, try that.
Yeah.
Now, she had to go to a clinical person, a clinical psychologist who would know, because her whole chemistry, everything has changed within her system, and now she is not thinking straight and would need some serious psychotherapy to get back on track.
And maybe some medical.
And some medication, and then we will have a psychiatrist come into the picture. So that is the little range from normal to abnormal, and then we head up to.
And hopefully we have more normal people in Trinidad, so you need more counseling psychologists, right?
So let us, we're going to a break. Let me remind the audience again, watching on, that our phone numbers are 675-8747 and 675-8749. And you can also follow us on Facebook, and Twitter is TV4 #PsychologyLive. Welcome back to Psychology Live, our first show on TV4. Let me remind you again that we are streaming live and we have two numbers that you can call into, 675-8747 and 675-8749, where you can ask questions of our guests on issues around psychology, human behavior. They have quite a lot of experience in Trinidad and Tobago dealing with young people, counseling, teaching, the education system, right? And so please feel free to call us on the numbers that we have just mentioned. Anna Maria, tell us about Mariama and your young program.
Yes, it's not young anymore.
But just 1 second, we have a call. We have a call coming in. Hello, caller. Hello.
Hi, good night.
Good night, good night.
No, but on the TV, very interesting show.
Thank you.
I just wanted to, I know it's now started, so probably it's just some information to how they could be able to touch on drugs, alcohol especially, that is so illegal and is so rampant in the family, and the dysfunctional behaviors, or how much the children are being suffering from it. And it is so normal that even though they go to school, and then the teachers themselves, some of them are drunk. So nobody's helping nobody.
Right.
Why I touch on that is partly, we do the practical part of the fellowship. We involve in some family programs and all these things. And we try to pass messages on to children and all these things. So it's an interesting thing that, probably they could touch on a later basis. I don't know if they want to ask any question.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So the caller is talking about drugs and alcohol, I gather in the school system especially, young people.
It is, that
and
is
the impact that it has in terms of behavior for the whole family unit, as we all know.
Yeah, that is a very serious issue. I mean, Trinidad and Tobago, because of our history in the sugarcane, alcohol was one of our, and still is.
My father actually worked at Caroni for many years.
Oh, your dad?
Caroni Limited.
Okay.
Previously called Unitel Limited, the olden days.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And, we still have basically an alcohol
Culture.
culture that
definitely.
stayed with us. And I've really noticed our alcohol ads are targeting younger and younger people when you look at the ads, and that concerns me. Before, you would think they would say maybe a 35, 40, 50-year-old and older who might be a little more mature and be able to say, okay, enough is enough. And that is one of the causes for concern. When I studied...
And also, you see, it's always available in the home.
Yes.
Alcohol is usually available in the home.
It's illegal.
And it's
legal.
Even
socially acceptable drug.
Socially
socially
acceptable. It is socially acceptable. And so children will try it.
Yeah.
And now where both parents are working and children do not get the monitoring that they would have normally gotten, I think they would try it, because you see that so many calypsos about promoting it. It's acceptable.
Yeah.
So they start early and they go into marijuana and other things after that, but they usually start off with the alcohol.
The soft drugs, and then move on
with
to
the
the harder drugs.
and then they move up.
Gateway drugs.
Yes, the gateway drugs. But the thing about it is that it is so easily available to young people, and even out of curiosity they will try it. So what parents have to do, parents have to monitor it very closely.
Right, yeah.
But
We have
I'm not
another
sure.
call. Let
And
me
then
just
you have-
interrupt you.
okay.
We have another call. Hello, caller.
Please hang up.
No, we lost.
Hello.
We lost it.
You lost the call? Okay. So we hope that the caller will call back. Part of the challenge, of course, of the whole drugs and alcohol is that now that we have a more restrictive environment in terms of DUI and alcohol levels after parties, you actually have stations in the all-inclusive fits where you can check yourself before you walk out the gate, because the cops will be standing up outside, monitoring you as you get behind the wheel.
That has happened? You
Well,
went to a
this is,
party
yes,
that happened?
I actually heard the police service talking about it. So we have another call. Hello, caller.
Hi.
Hello, good night.
Good night. I'm calling from New Grand.
Okay.
I was just
Welcome.
turned on the TV and I was listening to your program, and it's very interesting.
Thank you.
But what I want to say for Trinidad fathers and Trinidad mothers, what they have to do first is to listen to their children.
Oh, yes.
Children must have a say whatsoever conversation they are carrying to their parents.
Yes.
Because if you don't take time with the children, I was a mother like that, a single mother in Canada. I never used to listen to my children because it was work, 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 work. But when I reached the age of 45, I get to realize, no, you have to sit and listen because they have problems too. They will have problems at school. They will have problems on the way home from school. They will have problems with homework. They will have problems with teachers trying to show them the good from the bad. But what I notice here in Trinidad, most of the parents lining, the time they take to stay on the street, go home, sit down, have dinner. If it's one green banana and a piece of smoked herring,
Yes.
set the table, sit down and listen. They would have a topic to say to you every day. Tell them when you get up in the morning, I love you. Tell them during the night, let's pray together. Because the family that prays together will always stick together. I went through a lot of problems. But you see right now, and I will say something again, if you have 50 pounds of load into your stomach, and you are going to take a plane with 2 pieces of luggage, the luggage becomes lighter than the weight you are carrying into your stomach for the past 5 years. Unless you don't free yourself, you cannot free yourself with your children.
Thank
Well,
you.
Thank you, and you have a good night.
Thank you very much.
That-
I wanted to add something to her. It's true that parents are busy and they must make time to have at least one meal a day with their children. But then, remember you talk about how much time they spend on the road.
Right.
Why? That is a time when they can pray in the car. I remember you doing that with my children. We pray in the car and we talk. That is talk time.
Right.
I don't put on the radio. I say, let's talk. What's going on? And this is, so you have to find the time. It isn't that you can't find the time. You have to organize so that you could find the time, and you can with your children. It is so important.
To do the
Can I
bonding, the
bring
bonding
the bonding?
required.
Can
Yes.
I bring something up?
Yes, yes.
And I'll talk about Mariama being set up to help parents
Right.
with this. We're a safe space for children to come and talk, and somebody who's trained can listen. But when I hear about family, and this has me really a little distressed. Yes, okay, the ideal family is mother, father, children.
Traditional.
Traditional. I have fathers and I have children with a father who has three women with 3 different set of children. And we want fathers back in the home. Which home this man going in? You
how
understand
long?
what I'm saying?
Yes, for how long?
He might decide he marrying this last one because it's his soulmate. And she don't want him interacting with those other mothers because she feel he's still with her or them. What is these children's issue? Where, what? Because a lot of them are so angry because these children with the mother he decided to marry, getting all the brands and are being very well taken care of. And this mother had to fight now in court for maintenance. What is their story? These children are there, they have to be looked after, they have to be taken care of. You know, these are some of the issues.
So we're talking about cultural issues and you know, having outside children, and which family does the father or the male, right, bond with, and at whose expense in terms of the other children?
Now, there are women who have accepted the other children and have brought them into. It's not, it's few and far between, but they are a little more enlightened, I take it. I would call them enlightened because they understand that these children need, and they didn't ask to be here. So they will encourage their husbands to make sure that he looks after, because she trusts him that he is doing what, you know, he's supposed to do as a father. So there are women who are doing that, but not enough. And then there are children who are neglected seriously neglected because of this. And I mean, Mariama Children's Museum and Teen Turf was set up 25 years ago to help. Well, it started for junior secondary school children who had nothing to do half day and were finding themselves in serious issues and problems. And it was set up as a safe space, and it's still going ahead. It's going ahead. We have issues with funding, of course, but it's going ahead. And Mariama has been dealing with some of these issues and trying to help young people to understand that the choices, yes, we are products of our parents' choices, but as they grow and mature and they are able to share and get help to find their place in this world, they will make some choices that are different from
their parents.
If they want to change the history, the family history, if they want to change the history. And maybe a little later I'll read a poem that one of these young people wrote.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. But Mariana has been doing a lot of work, and there are a lot of organizations that cater to the needs of children, like Mariama. But the important thing is, if we do not look after the children, we're going to lose another generation.
Right.
And we complain a lot about children, but they are a product of the environment, and we as adults, and that's why psychologists are here to help both the parents and the children to get the balance they need, because everybody needs help. Everybody needs help.
We speak with it, we get help. We
help each other.
You know, we talk with each other and we sound things
counsel
off.
each other.
You know, we need help sometimes.
Yes, and sometimes you really need a professional help. It's good to have a good friend.
Yeah.
Please have good friends that you could talk to. But there are times where you need an objective ear and guidance from someone who can give you the professional help. It's like if you have a cold. When you see it's getting very bad, you go to a doctor. You don't don't use the home remedies all the time. If they're not working, you go to a doctor. Well, the same way, when you have a problem and you see that it's not working, your child is suffering, you notice that they're sullen and sour and they're going by themselves, they're not talking, you have to look at the children and look at adults too. When you notice the non-verbal signs, they need help. Go and get help.
But you're discussing something that allows me to segue now into another question, which is, what is it about our culture, and I know it's not only in Trinidad and Tobago, but the Caribbean, that we somehow are afraid of dealing with self. We are afraid of being introspective. We are afraid of looking in the mirror, right, at what we see before us in our different stages of life. We're afraid of, I mean, I have colleagues here and in the islands who, would indicate that their clients would park around the corner. Nobody wants to have their car be seen in front of the therapist, psychologist, right?
Because people will think something wrong with them.
Right. So what is it about our culture in terms of the stigma?
It's image. We live in a very small society too.
Yeah.
And image is absolutely fundamental to the Caribbean people. Right. How you look, the image you project. So you're not going to project an image that you have a weakness, in a weekness.
What we consider to be a weakness.
Or what we consider to be a weakness.
Yes.
Or that something is wrong with you, put it that way.
Yeah.
So it all has to do with image.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to do with money, it doesn't have to do with anything else but image.
You don't think it's a history thing? Remember we had a conference?
Yes.
Unmasking the past?
Yes, that's right. It's
where
historical too.
I don't think we like ourselves because it has a historical thing.
Let me take a quick break here. We have another call. Hello, caller.
The mask.
Yeah, the mask.
Yes, hello.
Hello.
Yes. Please go ahead.
Hi.
Welcome.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good evening. I just want to make a comment here. Very excited about this program.
Thank you.
But I wanted Anna Maria and Lila to notice that the problem I don't think is just in Trinidad or the Caribbean.
Correct.
I think it is more fundamental with people in terms of it's always easier to look outside at people on the outside than look within.
That's right.
But that's historic. It's history. That we were beaten out of looking at, we were taught not to like ourselves.
Right.
And it's still there.
Are you still there, caller?
Yes, I am.
Right. I think what we're doing is trying to focus on Trinidad and Tobago because, of course, it's our space and we're concerned about wellness in Trinidad and Tobago. But we are,
Okay.
at no time are we saying that it is the dysfunctional or toxic behavior is unique to Trinidad and Tobago. That is not what we're saying at all.
And for me, we are just 1.3 million people, and we're not able to get a handle on this. You know,
Right.
we have
Yes,
to
thank you
face
so much.
it.
Thank you.
Thank you for calling.
Yeah, I think that, you know, as we were saying, the unmasking the past. For the general audience, there was a Caribbean psychology conference in Suriname in November, the 11th to the 14th. It was the second conference in the Caribbean, and it was hosted by CANPA, which is the Caribbean Alliance of National Psychological Associations. And it brought together psychologists from the diaspora, all over the Caribbean, Europe, North America, South America,
Africa.
French Guiana,
Yeah,
South Africa.
Yeah.
And the whole goal is to, again, to break down some of the barriers
Yeah.
about psychology in the Caribbean, to create a Caribbean psychology. The theme of it, as you can see on the screen, was unmasking the past and claiming our future. And of course, the title was taken from a very Fanonian
Yes,
Frantz Fanon,
Yeah.
French Martinican psychiatrist, right, who did a lot of work in terms of colonialism and the impact of colonialism on the psyche, especially the slave psyche and the post-colonial psyche and the damage that it did. So that was the theme. So to come back to the question, ladies, about Trinidad culture, Trinidad and Tobago culture, and the mask that we wear, to use a segue. What are some of these masks that we wear? And I know Anna has a poem that she's going to share with us from a former student, which I heard about 2 days ago, and I was very, very moved by it. And I asked her to bring it, which we will.
We want to do it now? I mean,
I think we'll do it after the next segment.
Okay.
But speak to the young people and some of the challenges in terms of the masks that we wear as Trinidadians and Tobagonians. Any one of you?
Well, we have all different masks
Yeah.
because peer pressure is very strong in Trinidad. Keeping up with the Joneses or keeping up things. We have really become a very materialistic society.
Right.
And even children learn that. They look at materialism and there's a one-upmanship. Or I
The
have
latest cell phone.
even the cell phone, the quality of the shoes, even the people,
The bags, the handbags.
yes, their handbag and their knapsack, and they would spend $500 on a pair of shoes and go without food sometimes, and it's all to keep up the show. To keep up the show. And there's a one-upmanship even in the schools. I remember the children talking, and one say, oh, I got a Barbie doll for Christmas. Oh, and I got 2 Barbie dolls for Christmas. I mean it goes on like that. My
They're
father
learning
is
from their
strong, my
dads.
father is bigger than you. And you know, and it's always, because they learn it, it's learn the patterns. And if they learn it from so young, it continues all their life. I was so glad for uniforms in schools because that was one way, you know, where it's a great leveler.
Yeah,
Yes.
uniform.
Because
I
yes,
mean, sometimes it's expensive, but it's difficult. Remember, there was a time when we put children out of school because they didn't have the correct sneaker, or they had a sneaker that had a line and it wasn't supposed to have any line, because parents sent these sneakers, because parents, some of them would have gone away to try and make ends meet. So they sent the sneakers and sent the wrong sneakers, and the poor child had to wear the sneakers to school and was put out of school because of the wrong sneaker.
So in your practice, or in your experiences over the years in Trinidad and Tobago, I mean, I know Lila has talked about the keeping up with the Joneses, but what are some of the other variables or reasons why people are so loath, afraid of engaging with counselors, therapists, apart from the, you know, the general stigma that we have about, you know, you're mad, you belong in St. Anne's?
But really,
And what can we do? What can we do really to help break down the barriers?
well, it's a little fear of self-pain.
It's fear.
People don't
It's
like to
fear.
go into themselves because sometimes they don't like what they see in there.
Right.
All of us have our demons.
Yes.
All of us have our problems. And those who are brave enough will try to work with our demons to become better, healthier, more balanced people. But it's easier to keep your demons hiding.
Yes.
But they sometimes burst out in very irrational ways and in violent behavior. And I think that is one of the causes of so much violence in Trinidad. We suppress our anger,
Yeah.
deep-seated anger and aggression, and it just explodes. It explodes in road rage, it explodes in domestic violence, it explodes in some very violent, irrational ways.
Yeah.
You know, and people who you say, but he was a very nice, quiet man. He was always smiling. We don't know what repressed feelings they had. And an old aunt, I mean, once said to me, feelings buried alive never die. Go into yourself and deal with whatever is in there that needs to come out.
Right.
And you see-
Let's take another call.
Oh,
Excuse. Yes, hello caller. Welcome.
Hi, Kitty. Good night.
Good night.
I just want to mention now the psychologists, they keep on talking about self-inventory and all these things. Do they have any idea, or, I mean, how much they know about the 12-step program? Thank you.
How much will you know about
Self-
that?
12 She's talking about alcohol.
12-step is the alcohol.
Alcohol
liquor
program,
norm.
yes.
Yeah, alcoholic.
That's very
Anonymous.
useful.
Yeah.
It's very,
I
very
guess she's asking
useful.
about how useful it is.
I think
she wanted to get
it's
some more
very
information.
useful.
Yeah.
They're doing a lot of good work.
Right.
The Alcoholics Anonymous.
I wonder, is that the first caller who asked the first question in terms of,
About-
because there is an Alcoholics Anonymous, and for those who would like some referrals, we do have it was under the Ministry of Social Development, a directory of NGOs, non-governmental organizations, including those based in different communities and regions, and they can always refer you to the kind of help that you can get in your community, whether it is alcoholism or abuse or suicide, etc. I know the last publication was 07, I believe it is. I don't know if there's
there's
a
been
new
one that was recent, but
and it has
have
now
to
been
get it.
shifted to
Yeah.
the Ministry of Diversity,
Yeah.
I was told.
Okay.
Yes. So Anna, you were
And
saying?
in communities, I know in Aruka, there is an Alcoholics Anonymous program at the Aruka Government School on a Tuesday evening, like
Right.
between 6 and 8. And there's one at St. Mary's College, and they can, always call and get some information regarding and there is a number in the directory for Alcoholics Anonymous that they can get. So I don't think it's difficult to. There are Narcanons, that is for Narcotics Anonymous, and Al-Anon, which is family.
Alcoholics
And,
Anonymous.
yeah, and they have the family section of the Alcoholics Anonymous, where families meet separately to help families understand what's going on with the alcoholic
Right.
family member.
And they also have a good support system.
Yeah, they do. They do
once
have a
you-
good
yes,
support
yes.
system. But I think this whole sense of identity and liking who you are, it's very, very, it's very difficult, that whole dimension of your identity, because for me it is also the conditions under which a child was born. There are some children who are really not wanted, but they've been brought into this world.
And that affects them.
Of
all through their
course,
life.
because they are not treated well.
Yeah.
And they are neglected, they are left on their own. A granny probably has to step in, and grandmother might be a young grandmother who has to work too. I mean, there are so many issues that just impact on how we feel, our self-esteem, because that's what you're alluding to when you
Right,
talk
yes,
about,
yes.
self-esteem and feeling good about yourself. Understanding that there's a new day, there's a better day, Well, they say we psychologists are what, eternal optimists?
Yes,
Yes.
Because we always
have to be.
think that we have to be.
But
So
I'm glad you talk about
let me,
self-esteem.
before you continue, we have to go to another break, and then we come back and continue the conversation.
Okay.
Keep watching, and remember our numbers are 675-8747 and 675-8749, and we are on Facebook, Twitter, and streaming live. So what you just saw on your screen was a poem, and I will introduce Anna Maria to explain the poem. I heard it from her verbatim 2 days ago, and I really wanted her to talk about it because it gives the voice of youth and young people in Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah. One thing I recognized when I began my guidance work at ARIMA, it was senior comp at the time, was that young people, and this was a constant complaint, young people find it so difficult to communicate with parents and adults. And I had to find a way to help the young people at the school communicate with me. As I mean, I was always kind of on the corridor and stuff, and also communicate with parents, teachers, all the adults in their lives. So I had a project called Youth in Search of Self, where I encouraged them to write. I had invited the art department, they could do art. And this one poem of maybe I have about 20 poems in this little booklet, just had me look at young people in a different way.
Right.
And it is a theme that kept coming up over the years. Even if I went away to study, came back, the same theme came back in different ways. And this young lady, she was 14 at the time, wrote a poem about people. And she said, people are not what they pretend to be. They hide their true feelings for no one else to see. They pretend to feel what they don't, so no one will really know the real them. People want to be loved, but are afraid of being rejected. Their hearts scream out to be needed by someone, but they keep it inside, so no one knows what they feel or want. They live in their own dreams, pretending to be happy when they are not. They live the lives of others. They accept everything else but theirs. People don't know what true happiness means, so I guess people just don't like being people, it seems. Yes. I mean, this poem really blew me out. I mean, one young lady came to me. She's teaching now at Aranguez, and she came to me with a copybook full of poems. I didn't even have to, it wasn't a day when I mentioned the project that she came with this. So young people, they want to communicate.
They want to.
Let me take a call, Anna, and we'll get back to it. Yes, hello, caller. Hello.
Hi. Hi, good night. I was just watching the show, and I was wondering, how do you think the government can improve mental health in Trinidad and Tobago?
I think the question is how the government can improve mental health in Trinidad and Tobago?
Yes.
Right, okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that is a complex issue because it's comprehensive.
Yes.
They have to work from all different areas. Actually, a group of psychologists,
I was just going to ask.
Yes, 8 of us got together. Keith was there, Anna Maria, and looked at addressing the psychological needs of Trinidad and Tobago. And we looked at the major areas, because you have to look at working psychologists to get mental health. You have to deal with children and adolescents. You have to deal with the education system, what is taught and how it's taught, and teachers and children, everyone, counselors. You have to look at community life and family life and what can be done to assist in family life and community life. What are the needs there? You have to look at our healthcare system, because you need psychologists as well as doctors in every clinic to look after children. There is so much trauma in Trinidad that we must have trauma clinics.
We have been
the psychologists we've been working. I've been working for maybe 5-6 years trying to get trauma clinics set up in Trinidad and Tobago. Everybody has said, they opened the door. Oh yes, certainly, great idea. Nothing has happened, and I have to say that we are ready. Psychologists are ready to work and assist with trauma clinics, because we are all traumatized one time or the other.
Right.
And then you have to look at senior citizens. Right. We have to look at them,
elderly,
and the disadvantaged and the disabled. We have to look at them, and the public sector and the protective services. They need help and guidance. They are the first, they're the first ones to present themselves, responders, and they are traumatized all the time.
Right.
How are they helped?
Right.
How are they helped? A debriefing, write a report? That's not been helpful at all.
Unfortunately, we're running out of time, so I just want to yes, to ask Anna just to few comments in terms of the young lady
this
and
whole
the poem.
issue, when I called her in and I said this is serious, because we also had to check and see if it wasn't plagiarized from elsewhere. So I had somebody doing that. She wrote it herself, and she talked about the hypocrisy of adults and teachers. That was in 84. I went away to study, came back in 89, 90, and met the same theme in a young lady who told me, all our is a set of hypocrites. They only paying you to be nice to people. Okay? She was in my office. I took a deep breath and I smiled and I said, listen, let's talk about that. And it so happened that there was a teacher in the school, actually it was in the junior sec school where she came from, who used to go by the rum shop by the corner, the rum shop right up from the school, and drink with her father after school. And every time she passes, they're already a little inebriated, and the father, they are pulling her in and telling her, come and meet Sue, and what, and she was so livid about this, you know. So that whole theme just keeps coming back all the time about adults not being real,
authentic.
And parents and authentic.
Repressed anger all the time.
Let me thank you. We have unfortunately run out of time. We might need a 2-hour show instead. But I really want to thank both Lila Valera, the previous and first president of the Trinidad and Tobago Association of Psychologists, and the current president, Ms. Anna Maria Mora, for coming on as guests on our first show of Psychology Live. And we hope to have you on again, and also to discuss other themes that we have, touched on very briefly. So thanks once again, and thank you, the viewing public out there.
Thank you.
Thank you
very much.